Before we begin this episode, I want to offer a gentle heads up that today's conversation includes discussions of animal cruelty and suicide. These topics may be difficult for some listeners, so please take care of yourself as you listen. Pause, step away, or skip ahead if you need to. If you or someone you know is struggling, help is available. In the US, you can call or text 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline anytime, day or night. You are not alone.
So this is a section of chapter 10, Whispers from the Heart, from my book, Unveiling Radiance, Discover Your Inner Light. The best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt within the heart. Quote by Helen Keller. I had slowly gone back to teaching and training a few more clients. My first class back was a dance fitness class, and I had choreographed a routine to Compass by Lady A. John loved country music, and in my time with him, I grew to love it too. The lyrics held a special meaning to me. Yeah, it's been a bumpy road, roller coasters high and low. You want to give up because it's dark. We're really not that far apart. Let your heart, sweetheart, be your compass when you're lost, and you should follow it wherever you may go. When it's all said and done, you can walk instead of run, because no matter what, you will never be alone.
Thanks, Pam.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
Welcome. Namaste, yogis. This is Adrienne.
Namaste.
Namaste.
And Natalie.
Got Natalie and Nora and our special guest, Pamela. And I'm going to probably mess up the pronunciation, so let me check it. Yula. Yula. Pamela Yula from New Jersey, my home state. And we're excited to have you on the podcast, Pam. She just read from her book that was published this past year, correct?
Correct, in June.
That's
And thank you so
amazing.
much for having me on the show. Thank you all.
Well, we're so excited to have you, Pam, and getting your book. I'm so excited to talk to you about it and understand how yoga changed your life. So we always ask our guests to give us a little hi, my name is, your little elevator pitch intro. So take it away, Pam. Give us a little intro.
Awesome. Thank you again. My name is Pamela Yula, a Pam, doesn't matter. I'm a teacher who likes to help people find the space in themselves and the freedom in themselves through movement of mind or body to create freedom in their lives. And I help people just to be unapologetically themselves, because I try to be unapologetically myself.
You're speaking to the right people. That's
Yes.
us.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's one of our favorite things is to be able to just be ourselves and feel good in our own skin. So, Pam, tell us, what is your yoga origin story? So, when did you first try yoga in your life?
Okay, I have been in the wellness fitness industry really for 38 years now. I did the corporate thing for a long time, and it never really resonated with me. It was something I just did. I actually was an investigator for the Department of Insurance Fraud for a while.
Ooh, that sounds kind of cool.
It was fun.
Wait, what kind of insurance frauds?
Any kind of insurance fraud in New Jersey. So that's what I did. And I worked for some insurance companies, but I always did fitness on the side. And it got to the point where my partner at the time, my husband, said, well, if you don't like your job, just quit and just do fitness. And I went, okay. So thankfully I could. I opened up a studio for a while. I was doing a bunch of things. I'm also a personal trainer. So yoga and fitness has always been in my life, not necessarily yoga. This is how yoga came in. So I was teaching at this one facility, and they were starting to offer yoga classes. And I have always been, up to that point, a type A personality, the harder, the faster, the stronger, just always moving. A. I can't get enough. I had two gears. It was either go, or pass out. So I go to this yoga class, and it was so slow, and it was so hard to just sit there. So obviously I didn't really like it because it wasn't my groove at the time. And then life happened, which is the events in this book. that really knocked my socks off. I had been going to a few yoga classes at this point, more movement based vinyasa yoga, and I'd actually been going with the person that led me to the story in this book. Um, and during the process of this, I was finding like a peace. It was actually like very therapeutic. I ended up hooking up with a girlfriend of mine who was like literally 30 years my junior. And she said, "Come on, Pam, let's go to another studio. Let's take some more yoga together." And in the course of this, she brought me to a studio where I ended up meeting this other yogi who it was just so amazing. She not only got me a job teaching Pilates somewhere, because at this point I am at the bottom of the bottom. I can't even get out of bed in the morning. It's an effort to do anything. And she says to me, they're doing a yoga training at the other studio I work at. Maybe you should go over there and check it out. And I was like, I don't know. Okay, maybe. So I go to the other studio and she's also teaching there. And I'm like, I'm in. At this point, I had been in like a year of talk therapy and just therapy out, whatever, for a long time. And it was almost like a natural progression because it was better than therapy.
Hmm.
But it was like, not that better, I think we all need both, but um, it definitely was more, it was what I needed at the time. So I ended up taking the teacher training and here I am, like, 13 years later, and it was the best thing I could have ever done because it definitely was what I needed to get me past just the residual trauma. I was still doing the talk therapy, but in adjunct with the movement and the yoga and the philosophy and the community really of the studio and the people, it just helped me better get into a better place
Yeah.
moving forward. Yeah.
It's really interesting to me because I think that people, talk therapy is definitely a huge, huge valuable thing. I mean, I'm definitely a verbal processor, as many people know. And for me to be able to move my body and move energy in a way that is intentional or even unintentional at the time you don't know it, but it just makes a huge difference in everything you do. And our body holds on to things, our cellular body holds on to emotions and feelings and energy and memories. And so it's like if we're not moving that energy, we're never going to be able to kind of fully be free of it.
I 100% agree. What was happening was like after the first stuff happened and I was still going to yoga at the studio that I'd been going with him, the guy in the book. um I would get into shavasana and my body would start to shake.
Mm.
And it would all be all I could do to just hold on, and there's actually a chapter in the book where just hold on just a little longer so I could run out of there and just cry. And that was my go-to, even with when I was training, when I did go back to training clients, I could hold on for about a half hour, maybe an hour training people, and then I would run to my car and just cry. But it was the yoga specifically and shavasana. I can't tell you how many, it was definitely over a year that I couldn't leave Shavasana. I mean, I still cry sometimes in Shavasana, so it really wasn't a year. It's just kind of never ending.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't know why, and then all of a sudden you're shaking and you're bawling your eyes out, but then you feel so much better
Mhm.
when the experience is over. Drained physically, emotionally, physically, but drained emotionally and physically, but definitely better.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, Pam. So I'm going to have you dive deep into this story of kind of the origin of what brought you to where you are right now.
Okay. So I had been getting divorced. I was in the process of getting divorced from husband number two.
Mhm.
Live and learn. Um, and it was not a good situation. It was violent. It was not good. I had a lock on the bedroom in my house, and a lot of it was me. I was spiraling. I was definitely spiraling. And I met this guy, John, who was a friend of a friend, and he and I started this relationship, and it went like crazy, heavy, fast, way too fast. Red flag, red flag. Didn't see it at the time because I
Right.
was not in the space. Um, Fast forward, I within a month or two, I end up moving in with him. I needed to get out of my house, so I had stuff everywhere at my friend's house, my sister's house. I lived with her for a while. I was kind of everywhere and nowhere. So I ended up with him. I had 3 dogs. he had 2 dogs, and he actually was a part-time dog trainer on the side, which is kind of ironic after what happened. Um, and during the course of the relationship, which is like a few months, I started noticing, there were some things that were having me like second guess what I was doing. He was questioning everywhere I was. He was looking at my iPad. He was looking at my phone. And I finally like got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I need to get my own apartment. I need to get a house. I need to rent. I need to move out of here and get my own space. And he was not real thrilled with that at this point. So we had gone out to dinner. It was a week before I was set to move in to the house that I had rented. And we went out to dinner and we got in an argument. And granted, I definitely was probably drinking. Not definitely, probably. I was drinking. He probably wasn't drinking as much, but we got in this huge fight and he left the restaurant. I took the car, probably shouldn't have, went to go get ice cream. I called him and he wouldn't pick up the phone. And I pulled into the driveway and he comes out with like a glass of wine. And then I thought he was going to hand me the wine, but instead he threw it at me, punched my window. At this point, I'm out of the car and I started yelling at him. And then I was like, oh crap, like that was immediate sober. And he grabbed me by the throat. He threw my pocketbook and my phone across the street. And at this point, the neighbor who was at his house was worked in the prisons.
Mm. Oh,
And
like a correctional officer kind of
correctional
thing?
officer, thank
Got
you,
it.
the word was evading my mind. And he said, "Pam, come with me." So at this point, John had gone inside. The guy's name was John, and I went into this neighbor's house, and his daughter starts screaming, "He shot the dogs! He shot the dogs!" I'm like, "What are you talking about? He shot the dogs!" So we get in the house, and long story short, it ended up they closed. There was a train track behind his house. SWAT team came in. All there was 4 different police stations. It was chaos. They closed off the whole area, the whole town.
Holy
This went
shit.
on over the whole entire night.
Oh
Um,
my word.
but it was crazy. At some point, they did come into the house I was in, and I asked one of the officers about my dogs, and he said 2 dogs are dead. And I didn't know if it was my dogs, if it was John's dogs. Um, and it ended up it was 2 of my dogs.
Oh my
So
God.
it was yeah, it was my Chloe. Wow, I wasn't expecting the tears. I've said this so many times. Today is bothering me. It was my Chloe, and all my dogs have been rescued. It was my Chloe Bella, who was Schnoodle, and it was my Griffin, who was Gryffindor, who was like a Shih Tzu mix.
Mhm.
Everything was rescue. So fast forward, obviously that was extremely traumatic. And then I go to the police station and he's in the police station and he goes to jail. I get a restraining order. And, you know, I don't know why, I did this, but I just maybe needed closure or whatever. I get these phone calls. At this point, I moved into the house I was in and I'm with my one dog who had survived, Bentley, my poodle. And I kept getting calls and they kept hanging up. And one night, again, it's probably the intuition that I didn't even know I had at the
Right.
time. And I finally said, "John, is that you?" And it was. And he was bawling, he's crying. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I can't believe I did this." He called me from jail. He gets out of jail because his mom had posted bail, whatever, for him.
Right.
And I end up meeting up with him. And I remember the first day meeting him, we used to go everywhere with the dogs, like everywhere. Our lives revolved around where we're taking the dogs over the weekend, even during the week. So, as scared as I was, I needed to see him. So, it started out where we would be in separate cars in the parks. And he was scared. I was scared. He thought I was going to turn him in. Fast forward, he ends up moving back in with me.
Whoa.
And then things are not going well. And his attorney says, "You're going to be going to jail." I mean, he shot at the cops. There was a whole thing that night. I
Holy
mean,
shit.
there was like a shootout. I mean, and he said he wasn't shooting at them, but there was like bullet marks all over the house. It was crazy. And yeah, so then I I say to him, "I'm going to teach this new class." It was an aqua class in Somerset, New Jersey. And I said, "We'll talk when we get home," because he was so beside himself. One of his dogs in the interim had also passed away, and because he had two.
Hmm.
Anyway, I come home from this class, and the dogs greet me. His dog that was left, my dog, and I make a cup of coffee, and I'm like, "Where is he?" Thinking now he's just working out in the basement. So I go down the steps. On step 10, I see him hanging in the rafters of my house. So
Holy
I
fuck.
I was like, exactly, holy fuck.
Holy fuck.
I didn't know what to do. I just went into like I ran upstairs, I grabbed scissors, he used my dog leash, and he hung himself on my TRX that was hanging in the basement.
Oh my
So
God.
I, I gently brought him down to the ground, and it was obvious, I think, to me that he was gone because he was. I'm sorry. This I should have
No,
said
no, no. It's fine. It's
the
fine.
recording.
Yeah.
Um, he was blue, the tongue was out, there was, excrement on the floor. It was obvious he was gone.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, you look back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have done CPR, but I'm like, he was gone.
No, you would
So
know. Yeah.
I called 911, and that was really that was kind of the last straw. If I thought my life couldn't get any worse,
Jeez.
it got worse. Yeah.
Wow.
So that was trauma after trauma after trauma. So that started just like my sister and my one best friend um was and I changed everybody's name in the book except for my sister
Mhm.
and John. Um they came over. I don't even know. I remember sitting on my deck calling and telling that people that I wasn't going to be able to come into class. I mean, that's what
Oh,
I was
that's
sitting.
exactly what I would have done too. It's
I
like
was
that
like, I
panic
can't
stricken.
come
Yeah.
in. Yeah, my boyfriend just committed suicide. I mean, like I could remember sitting outside on the deck. And then, of course, I spiraled into just excessive drinking, just anything, just to just numb out everything.
Mhm.
And it got to the point where my one friend said to me, she goes, "You really need to get some help." And I can't even remember. I feel like I lost a significant part of my life. I feel like I lost a significant amount of memory. Um, because honestly, there's some things I just don't remember now from that whole period.
How long were you with him?
9 months.
Wow. In 9 months, all that happened.
Yeah, yeah. And the beginning part was like July to November was where he killed the dogs. And then it was from December to when he killed himself in April the following year.
Wow.
So it was just a lot of trauma in a very short period of time. I just didn't I needed help. So I started out to me with therapy that actually was at a women's resource center for women that had been abused,
Mm.
which was funny because I didn't think of myself as abused at the time. Obviously I was.
Yeah. I mean, what
Uh,
even what you said about your first marriage, that it was
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean his was more just ordered like verbally
verbal. Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, so then yeah, so that I did was doing that, it wasn't enough. And ironically, the yoga teacher who John and I had been going to was a therapist. And
Wow.
I was still seeing her in the yoga classes, and she's like, "I might be able to help you." So I started seeing her, and it still wasn't enough. I was not doing well. And then there was a whole backstory with my kids not knowing, and there was a lot in
Mm.
there, and a lot of trauma, a lot of yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even wrap my head around how quickly your life changed and how much, you lost with your animals and then losing with, somebody who obviously was not meant for you for life. And what was
It,
his, like, did he leave a note? Like, was there any explanation? Like, nothing? Just that was it.
just nothing. And you know what's funny on this, and this is how your perspective changes when you're looking at things from a different point of view after you go through all the healing and the work. Originally my thought was, oh, that was his last, I could say F you, that was his last
Hmm.
fuck you to
Yeah.
me, but
Yeah.
Mhm,
killing killing himself with my dog leash.
Yeah.
mhm.
um but then in hindsight, when I was working through this, it was almost like he felt I can actually now have more compassion for him. I mean, he never got over himself what he did to me and to the dogs. Um, but it was like it was like his way of having the dogs kill him. So it was like I
Mm.
could look at it from a different perspective on, maybe he wasn't trying to say, fuck you, Pam. It was more like,
Fuck me.
fuck me. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So,
And are you practicing yoga regularly at this point?
yes.
You're
Yeah.
going through this trauma. It was yoga already.
I was already doing yoga, and actually with him, I was doing yoga at this studio. Um, and we had started this practice together, and I wasn't it was definitely the initial, this is before I really got involved in it, but it's funny how things happen. I don't even know how I got there. I don't really remember the whole reason how we got to this specific studio. But again, it was meant to be,
Hmm.
because this woman ended up being like my therapist, and I'm still actually friends with her. I still touch base with her every once in a while, and she's always like my biggest cheerleader. You wrote a book, so proud of you. I'm so happy for you. She was wonderful. I needed more than that. And like I said, the yoga, it definitely it needed to be a part of the whole process, because I needed to open things up. I had been so tight and so wound up with everything that I needed that physical release
Mm.
as much as I needed the emotional release.
In the aftermath of this trauma, you're in talk therapy, you're attending yoga, you're taking yoga. At what point did as you said, when in the beginning of the interview, you mentioned teacher training, right? Like, where does that fall into this?
Timeline. Yeah.
The
Yeah,
time.
that fell in. It was a good year after all of this happened. I had been in therapy. I believe, and again, I don't know, I have to always, it's so funny. I sometimes can relate to time based on which dog I've had,
Mm.
because I'm on my 15th rescue now since 2005. So I could
Wow.
say, okay, if it was this period of time, I had this dog, I had that dog. It was about a year that I started the teacher training, where I finally had gotten out of the private therapy, the groups. I was actually doing group therapy 3 times a week too, and actually there was some psychiatry. I definitely, like, I needed medication.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough. I mean, I needed a lot. I needed a
So,
lot of help.
Pam, how
And
many years ago was this?
2013 was the initial. So 2014 was really when I started the yoga certification, or I got the yoga certification around there. Could look back.
Hmm.
And then I started, teaching after that. And it was just, it became, the natural thing to do. And
Hmm.
and again, in hindsight, I look back to all these things that I kept adding on into my repertoire from just the initial phases of doing crazy aerobics, and then training. But again, I thank God, or thank universe, for putting me on this path, because as I'm getting older now, it's the yoga and the Pilates that are keeping me sane and helping me. And I do heart math meditations as well. I'm a heart math coach. I'm a life coach, but it's it all was just like the perfect evolution, and it happened at the right time. And I can look back now and say, would I ever want that to happen to me or anybody else? Heck no, I would have liked a little smoother, a nicer, like, pebble thrown at me,
Yeah,
not a
exactly.
boulder,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I obviously wasn't listening. I mean, if I look back, and I look back to journal entries, and I'm like, yep, there was another sign. Yep, there was another sign. You missed that one. You missed that
Hmm.
one. But you
Yeah.
know what? I could say I'm grateful, for the experience, and I try to find the silver lining in what happened, because I have to, I have to.
It's really crazy. I was thinking about, I was reading something this morning online, and it was like talking about how, sometimes in life you have to go, a mountain is in front of you, right? And you
Yeah.
have to climb, or, go over this mountain. And then as you keep going on your path, that mountain was really big at one point, right? It was
Mhm.
really steep, and it was really, really hard to get over. But then as you continue along your path, along your journey, that mountain gets further away and doesn't look as big as it used to look or feel, you know?
Absolutely.
I found that
And
really
again,
interesting.
and it's the perception too. You could
Mm,
look at something as insurmountable or impassable, and then all of a sudden, you start and it's not,
yeah.
it becomes, if you take it in stride instead of looking at the top and taking it in increments, it makes the journey a lot easier, you know.
Yeah.
So you're on the other side of this trauma and yoga, you've gone through the teacher training. At what point were you starting to feel the difference and see the difference in yourself? Well, at what point did you feel like yoga had made an impact, had changed your life, or you could start to see a change?
I could definitely see changes from the moment I started the teacher training. It gave me the ability to say yes to things that I would have said no to. Like they offered a retreat, and I would have been like, oh my gosh, no way am I going out there, you know, by myself. I'm going to be seen again. For me, it's this whole thing of being seen again. Like I
Mm,
don't want to be seen because of all the shame that I
mm,
went through. But it definitely, with the beginning of the teacher training, was already transitions on how I was looking at things and helping me to change and shift my perspective, um, on just everything that I was navigating at that point in life. I was in a better space. And again, it happened at the right time. If I had done this teacher training like right at the beginning of all this trauma, I wouldn't have been able to even hear anything that was happening or
right.
go through. I wouldn't have understood anything because I would have been like, what? Like, you know, what was the point? How can I see the silver lining in this? I lost my entire life. I
Yeah.
lost my children for a while. I lost my family for a while. I lost my dogs. How could you that would have been my perspective prior to the teacher training and then the yoga. It just opened up a whole world, and it's so funny, like from a body standpoint too, it allowed me to be more flexible and open. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that just resonated, just like popped in my mind. It just opened me up into being, instead of this rigid bodybuilding mentality where more, 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 it opened me up to the beauty of slowing down and sitting there.
Mhm.
Yes, because I
Right.
said too, I remember the hardest class I ever did in that teacher training. Holy moly, gentle yoga and then a yin class to sit there with myself for over an hour.
Mm-hmm.
That was the hardest thing I had ever done.
Yeah.
And now, oh my gosh, I crave the peace. Just let me just sit there and just be like breathing and
Well,
oh
think about it. It's like the idea is, and I was brought up in the same generation of like, if you're not, if you can sit down the next day after your workout, you didn't work hard enough, right? If
yes,
if you're not bleeding out your eyeballs, you didn't work hard enough, right? Like all of those kind of mentality. And from a woman perspective too, from a female perspective, it was like, and I need to do this. I have to do this in order to be skinny, be fit, be pretty, be beautiful. And it's like none of that. When you said too, like the flexibility of your mind, like I say that to students all the time. I'm like, yeah, flexibility. Like when they come in, they're like, oh, I can't do yoga. I'm not flexible. I'm like, bullshit. I'm like, 90% of it is in your head. It's more
absolutely.
about learning how to move your muscles and your bones to get to the flexibility, get past the bullshit in your head,
Yep.
and just having that ability to actually sit and rest or, you know, move slowly. That's the opposition of quickly. And we need that in order to have a healthy body. We need both. We need effort and ease, right? The stira sukha.
Absolutely. And finding that the balance, and it doesn't balance mean 50-50, but it's finding what's right for you at any given time.
Yeah.
So I'll say in the morning, if I can't get to the studio, I'll sit and I go, okay, what do I need this morning? Do I need movement or do I need stillness? And even during the day, if something happens that sets me off, I say to myself, okay, what do you need right now? And for me, it's always leash the dogs up and go outside in nature.
Yeah.
But the yoga perspective, it's like, okay, what kind of class am I looking for right now?
Mm-hmm.
Want to just kick my butt? Do I want to go to a hot, hot flow? Or do I want to just sit there and do a yin class or a gentle flow or anything like that. Just,
I
yeah.
love that question. That's a beautiful question. That's a great question. What do I need right now? First of all, just that. What do I need right now? Fantastic question. You know,
Thank
do
you.
I need quiet? Do I need stillness? Do I need movement? Because it's true. In any given moment during the day, that answer is different.
Or do I need a snack?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Am I hangry?
Exactly. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
Excellent point.
Pam, Nora is our nutritionist, so she
Yeah.
keeps
I
us
love
in
that,
check.
right?
Yeah,
That's
Yeah,
my
because
catchphrase. Do we need a
that-
snack?
that makes
Can
sense.
I help? Do we need chocolate?
exactly. Exactly. Chocolate does make a lot of things better.
That is another very wise question.
Yes. Do I need chocolate?
Have I forgotten to eat today?
Yeah. Yeah.
If we take it back a second with going through talk therapy and group therapy and working through trauma, and taking all of these things, what was it that you felt was missing? Like, how did you, if you were not a mover, do you think you could have figured out that movement was the piece that was missing from healing?
That's a very interesting question. I'm not sure. If I really think about myself, though, I've always been a mover, and that was always my go-to. Like, to get rid of energy, that's what I would do. I was always a super energized person. Um, prior to prior to the pandemic, I was still teaching sometimes 25 classes a week, which is
Shit.
insane, right?
Die.
I know.
Hell
And
no.
right. And when I owned my studio, and we're talking hardcore classes, we're not talking like
Yeah.
general flow classes. I mean, I was teaching like dance fitness classes, I was teaching hardcore vinyasa, heated 103 classes, strength training, spinning, name it, I taught it. The bigger, the better, and y- I I still needed the chill at that point, but I was always a mover. So I think maybe it would have eventually come to that I needed to know that I needed the movement. But back then too, it was so funny because my only like I would get out of the house to walk the dogs. And again, there's movement.
Yep.
Movement and being in nature. For me, it's moving and being outside. Um, has always been therapeutic for me. Um, but yeah, on top of the yoga, yeah, yeah. I think would have probably come back to that I needed the movement because the stillness, when I was sitting in stillness too long too, if I could really think about it, it was not making it better. It was making it worse because I couldn't get out of my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't get out of my head. Um,
When did
so
that shift, Pam? Sorry to interrupt you. When did that shift? When did you feel like, oh, I can sit in stillness? Because I feel like that's something that a lot of people that have that type A personality really struggle with, and they usually just give up on it.
I think again, going back to that teacher training, it opened up the possibility that I was able to do it and sit with myself. I mean, a lot of it was working on myself and saying, I feel safe enough to sit here with my eyes shut. I think a lot of it had to be dealing with the safety of myself.
Mm.
That I felt okay that if I shut my eyes, I wasn't going to have flashbacks. I wasn't going to um, get lost and be thrown back down that spiral of trauma.
Yeah.
So I think it was really during the course of the training that helped. And it was funny because after I did the teacher training, the following year I also did this is again the complete opposite of being grounded. I did a training for aerial yoga,
Oh,
which
I
is
love it.
the complete opposite. And that was to get over my fear of being upside down.
Nice.
But it's so funny now if I think about that. It's like the complete opposite of being grounded because you're flying,
Right.
So I guess it's like finding that freedom in both this. There we go. It's the freedom in the stillness and the movement.
Well, yeah. And if you think about the movement that you had in your life up to that point was very, hard and fast and, very physical.
Mhm.
And then when you get into aerial yoga, it's very light. You know,
It is light.
it's
Yeah.
light. I mean, it's still hard as shit. Let's be honest. Like hanging upside down in silks or in, you know, a hammock, it's hard work, but there is something beautiful about the trust in yourself.
You just hit the nail on the head. It was the trust in myself, definitely the trust, and the feeling like, "Oh, I am safe. I can trust my body to hold myself up."
Yeah.
You know, it's just so funny. Every time I have conversations on different things, these things come up and my mind goes, "Oh my gosh, I just didn't realize that." Like, it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, there you go. There's another aha moment," you know?
Yeah.
And which is the beauty of yoga. You know,
Exactly.
so many times, whether it's teaching a class and even teaching a class, I could be in a Dharma talk saying something, and all of a sudden I'm like, "Oh my gosh." Like, you'll aha, or
Mhm.
somebody else will say something, and I'll be like, "Oh my god." Like, I love those aha moments that you still get them, but that's the beauty of the yoga too. It's like, it never ends. The journey never ends. There's those moments are always, 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 always they happen every day. It's so fun. It's so much fun.
As long as you're observant and awake to it too, right? Because it's easy to get
Mhm.
stuck in the bullshit of every single day life, and you know, teaching and worrying, and you know, how many students am I going to have? You know, am I going to be able to teach? Am I going to be able to like get this sequence out? Did I make it too complicated? You know, it's easy, like you said, to kind of spiral your thoughts, but then to be able to find that groundedness and that trust within yourself to be like, I can do this.
Mhm.
I can do
Yes.
this.
Do
Yeah.
you think when you started to do aerial, you know, it's new, it's not on the mat. Do you think that that was the first time you were able to feel like you had your flow back? You were in the flow, you were having that out of body experience, like you could detach from the weight of what you'd been
Mm.
through?
Another really good question. These would be really good journal prompts for myself to go into after the fact, right? I think that it was a culmination, really. I think, you know, everything goes kind of together. Um, I think it's a culmination. I mean, I definitely really good question. I think I think the aerial more than anything built up the confidence in myself. Um, the yoga itself was a confidence builder, but the yoga was different because I've been teaching for so long. It was just teaching, it was learning a different language.
Mm.
I had the skills to teach, but it was learning a different language, and definitely took myself out of the box because it's more vulnerable and definitely more pressure, um, self-imposed
Yeah,
pressure,
totally.
you know,
Totally.
post. Like you said, did I nail that? And you know, oh my gosh, what if how can I teach this if I can't even get in this pose? I was so inflexible when I started yoga. I couldn't even hold my arm out. I had so many injuries from bodybuilding and all the crazy stuff I
Mm.
did to myself. Um, and then I think the yoga gave me the groundedness and but then the aerial gave me more of a trust in myself. Did I answer that?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
off the tangent
Yes.
in my mind on that.
No, that was beautiful. I'm
Thank you.
okay. So when you wanted to go back to when you were talking about, you know, going through yoga and how like it's like learning a different language and like how to speak differently. And it is very vulnerable. Like I used to sell beer for a living, right? I worked for Coors Brewing Company for years, and I had a job where I would travel a lot and I'd have to get in front of a big group of distributors or, you know, people and give a, you know, a presentation on sales or marketing or something. And I remember always feeling like I never got nervous before I went up. But then the first time in teacher training, when I had to stand up and teach a Sun A, which is pretty basic if you're a yoga teacher, I started crying. I
Oh
started
wow.
crying. And I was like, I felt so much more vulnerable than I had ever felt because it was more like yoga was something to me that obviously changed my life, right? It made a big, huge impact. And then that feeling of, I need to share this with others really brought me to a very vulnerable place of like, who the fuck am I to share this with others? Right? Like, what do I have that's so special? Like, this is thousands and thousands of years of lineages. And then here's this, white girl from Jersey, right? Who's like, let me teach yoga. Like, is that even fair? Or should I be doing this? Like, all of those doubtful thoughts came in. But then it's like the beauty of yoga is that connection, right? And the connection with others. So I'm curious. So after these horrific events happened, you were teaching group fitness classes, right? Basically, in like different dance classes.
Mhm.
How, like the first thing you did was like, hey, I can't make it to class kind of thing the next day. How long did it take you to kind of heal, or how much time did you give yourself before you got back into teaching?
It was a very slow process getting back. And then when I transitioned from only doing therapy twice a week to going to this group therapy that was like 3 4 hours 3 times a week, um, then I was again teaching maybe 1 or 2 classes a day, but that was it. It was all I could do, like I said, just to get through the therapy, get through the day. Um, and then Yeah, it was a while, and again, I really have to look back in my journal notes because it's hard. I just lost. I have no sense of time
Yeah.
anymore during that period, but it was a while, and it took a long time to fully get back in. But then, and I remember actually now that I'm talking, I remember going back into. I was teaching at corporate fitness at the time, and I went back in to train and teach, and everybody was coming up to me saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry," because it was all over the news.
I bet.
Everybody knew.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I remember walking into one of the facilities and everybody saying to me, again, that in itself was enough to say I don't want to go into these places, because then I would
Yeah.
start like shaking, and then the shaking, and then the crying, and then it's hard to get out of that when you're in that. And again, the shaking is a release of trauma, but it was just like shaking and sweating and crying, and who wants to be like that? And I'm trying to, like, we're as instructors, whether it's yoga or whatever thing. And I was listening to one of your podcasts, like, we're always on, we all
Right.
put on a happy face, be great, and here
Mhm.
me as this energizer bunny, the person that always lifted everybody up, and here I'm just like literally shoulders slumped,
Mm.
like I don't want to look anybody in the eye. I just don't want to be seen, because I don't want anybody to come up to me and trigger me and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, what happened?" The
Yeah.
person, with the dogs and working at the shelter and the whole thing. And it was like, yeah,
Yeah, that's
it was
that
tough.
is. I mean, it's such a good point because so I've been going through a lot lately, and I haven't had a chance to talk about it on the podcast, but I'm gonna release something with these gals about it. But you know, whenever something hard is going on in my life, and I have to go in and teach and show up for others, you know, I always think about that. Like, I can't be in my feels when I'm trying to be with other people and have this experience together. And, I feel like, is that being fake? Is that putting up a front? Is that, I feel like sometimes it's just where I can kind of link it together is go, okay, what do I, like you said, what do I need right now? Right. So, what's a universal thread that's going through my life that I can then take into class and show up a little bit as myself, right,
Yeah.
in what I'm going through, but not completely make it all about me, right? I think that's kind of where you're going to. It's like when you show up, it's not about us, it's about them. Like, we're holding, we're creating this with them, and we're not bringing them down. We don't want them to walk out and be like, holy shit, listen to what happened to my teacher. It's like you,
Right.
you want them to leave their shit behind and, alleviate their own suffering. You don't want to bring your suffering in there. And that's a very fine line to walk.
It is. And one of the podcasts you were giving to, one, I forgot who it was, but she said she came into class and something had happened, and she had to put the smile on. But then when she sat down to talk, she actually said, "You know what? I'm really going through something rough today. I need to get your energy."
Hmm.
And the vulnerability, and like, I would have been like, if that was me as a student in the class, I would have been like, just, here's my heart, here you
Yeah.
go. Like, kudos to you for being that open and saying, you know what, we're human,
Yeah.
and regardless of where we are, we're gonna have, like, shit is gonna hit the fan. There's gonna
Exactly.
be bad days, like, and to be like, oh well, everything's always rosy and happy. It's not like that. That's not
No.
the reality of life.
It's not. And it's funny because you know how, like, when when shit goes wrong in your life, right? And then little things happen. Like for the first time in my career of teaching, I forgot to set my alarms for my 6 a.m. class last Tuesday. And I'm the freak that gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning, leaves my house by 4:30. I'm at the studio by 5. I'm in my car till 5:30. And then I get in and I get all prepped up and grounded and ready to teach. And my alarm went off at 5:33. And I was in complete and utter panic. And I was like, I've got to get there, called the club, told them I'm late, texted a student, say my ETA is 6:04. My class starts at 6. And I'm running in the building, running up the stairs. Shit, fuck. Get to the top of the stairs. I'm like, stop. You're a yoga teacher. You can't walk in with all this crazy energy at 6 a.m. So I was just like, breathe, stop. Right. And I walked in and I was like, well, life happens, My alarms didn't go off. I didn't realize at the time that I did not set my alarms. But then it makes me go in my head and go, okay, there's a lot of other shit going on in your life. And now you're having these little type of issues. It's time to start talking about it. It's time to start, dealing with it in a better, healthier way. I don't know if you feel the same way when stuff like that happens.
Absolutely. I look at things like that now, and I wouldn't have that. I've had that. I used to have recurrent dreams about being late for classes. That's how
all the time. Yeah, me too.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And thank goodness I worked on enough on that to say, when I'm on the road all the time too, in between clients. If I'm going to be late now, same thing now. I call them or I text them. I say, hey, I'm running a few minutes late. And every time the response is, please don't rush, be safe.
Yep.
And I love that people are like that now. But yeah, 100%. When I get messages like that, if stuff like that keeps happening in my life, I have to stop. And again, I ask myself, what's the message here?
Those little moments, like you said, they kind of pop up all the time, right? Those aha moments or those, sim moments in life. And I feel like that there's a reason, maybe there's a reason behind it all kind of interconnecting or coming at the right time, or, it's just magical. And I feel like for me with yoga, it's grounded me in a place where I can hear, see, and experience life in a much more grand way than I did when I was kicking the shit out of myself on a treadmill for 3 hours and sweating and dying, and not really taking care of me.
Absolutely 100%. The day that I learned that I didn't have to run and I could walk, was like,
oh my gosh. Well, I mean, Pam, we've talked so much. I feel so badly. We've gone over a little bit longer than we normally do, but let's kind of have you, what do you want our listeners to take away from your story?
I'd like listeners to take away from the story that really, no matter what you go through in life, there's a brighter light. You can find the light within yourself for sure. And I definitely would encourage anybody that's struggling with anything to be open to the possibility of yoga, whether it's whether they need to move heavy in a hot class or whether they just need to just sit there in a restorative class and just receive even a sound healing. I mean, yoga for me was like the gateway drug into all these other modalities of sound healing and of just everything. And I like you believe that the talk therapy, there's a time and place for talk therapy. There's a time and place for medication. But for me, and for what I've seen with people that I work with, it's the yoga that really is when you're in the space to receive it, is the game changer. So just being open to the possibility that open to the opportunity of experiencing yoga, but also just knowing that we have everything we need. You just have to be able to access it. And yoga definitely is a gateway to get into those paths where you can discover your inner light.
It's like yoga's the leaf blower. It blows all the shit out of the way so you can see what's beneath it.
Yeah.
That's another bumper sticker right there.
Yeah.
Yoga is my leaf blower.
Exactly. My leaf blower for my life. So
I was thinking it's part of a healthy breakfast. Remember those
yeah,
ads?
yeah, exactly. Yep.
I
A
think you're
balanced
right.
meal.
It's part of a balanced meal. You need your talk therapy and your group therapy, and you might need medication, but you also need some yoga. You need some movement and you
Yeah.
need some stillness.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And you know what? It doesn't matter what your age is, because I have clients that I teach in these senior facilities and adult communities. They're in their 90s. I have people doing yoga with me in a chair in their 90s.
Mhm.
And the beauty on that is just anybody could do it. There is no, you could be in a wheelchair and you could do yoga. You could have one
Absolutely.
arm and one eye and still be doing yoga. You could you could be blind, you could be deaf. Everybody, it's accessible to everybody.
It
You
is.
don't need anything.
Mm-mm. No.
Don't need anything except for an open heart.
Yeah. Yep. And your breath. That's it.
Right. And a
That's it.
breath. Mm.
So, Pam, where can our listeners find you?
Okay, I am not super great with social media. I'm trying to get better. And when my time opens up, which is going to happen now because it's something else shifted this morning, actually.
Ooh.
I'm on Facebook just with some local stuff under Pamela Yula, or Unveiling Radiance is my tag. My website is unveilingradiance.com. My book can be found on Amazon, Unveiling Radiance, Discover Your Inner Light. This is my copy. Yeah, my website's really the best way to get in touch with me. There's like tabs in there. You can sign up. I don't bombard people with emails. I try to send very limited things, just kind of offerings. And also, I guess you could call them kind of like blog talks, because then I post occasionally on LinkedIn as well. And again, I'm going to get better on social. I'm not super great. That's also a computer knowledge thing as well. It, but yeah, basically the best place is probably my website,
Great.
unveilingradiance.com.
Great. Pam, thank you so much for being so open to share your story. It was unbelievable what you have been through in your life and how much you are radiating now for us. And I really appreciate, your openness, your honesty, your time, and just the ability to share something that's very traumatic, very, very hard. But your story will inspire many, many people. And that's why we do this podcast, is to share.
Yeah. I cannot thank you enough from the bottom of my heart, all of you. Wow. I could talk with you guys like all day
I know.
long.
Me too.
I'm like already saying, okay, when can I get down to San Antonio and take some classes?
Yes, exactly. That's the best part about this podcast, is that we have now made friends all over, and we expect and intend to keep in touch. So if there's ever anything, if you're in Texas, when we're in Jersey, whenever we're near each other, if you got something going on, you let us know. Keep us in, always in your newsletter and in your communications. And, it's just, we'll definitely have to reach back out again and see how you're doing with your yoga later.
I'm excited, and just thanks again for this opportunity to all of you. I appreciate your extremely insightful questions. Natalie, I have to definitely go back and start journaling some of those, because I was like on that one again. And I truly appreciate everything that you guys are doing. Because yoga not only changed my life, I say, and I've said this all along, that yoga saved my life.
Yeah.
Because I was definitely not in a good space. So
Agreed. Yeah, I totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, Pam.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.